to announce members to the St. Louis City Board of Police Commissioners in a press conference set for 3:30. Chesterfield-based St. Luke's Hospital Network announced today that it's closing its DePere Hospital on August 1st. The hospital network states in a press release that the closure was a difficult decision resulting from increasing financial pressures and persistently low utilization of DePere Hospital. The Nordstrom department store inside the St. Louis Galleria is closing this summer. A Nordstrom spokesperson explained that the decision is part of a bigger plan to focus more on digital operations and stores closer to their headquarters in Seattle. Nordstrom also operates two Nordstrom Rack stores locally, one in Brentwood and another in Manchester. The store in the Galleria in Richmond Heights opened in 2011 and will close its doors for good on August 24th. The St. Louis Post-Dispatch has named St. Charles County's Developmental Disabilities Resource Board as the winner of the 2025 St. Louis Top Workplace Award. This prestigious recognition is based solely upon employee feedback to a third-party survey. St. Louis seniors have more time to apply for the Senior Property Tax Freeze program. The deadline was June 30th, but now has been extended to July 31st because of the May 16th tornado. The freeze only applies to residential real estate and does not apply to vehicles or other personal property. Eligible seniors may apply online at stlewis-mo.gov. August 13th is a great day to visit the Missouri State Fair for Senior Appreciation Day. KTRS's Jim Fairchild has more on the special activities.
It's Senior Day, so of course they will have bingo, also live music by the County Liners, line dancing lessons, square dancing, and a dance contest. Look for senior appreciation discounts at select concessions and vendors, and a special lunch brunch will be held. Get a complete schedule at the Missouri State Fair website. Jim Fairchild, KTRS News.
This KTRS Business Minute is brought to you by Walter Knoll Florist, the place for all your floral needs. Place your order anytime at WKF.com. An update on Wall Street. Dow Jones closing up 375 points to 42,581. S&P 500 up 57 to 6,025. And the NASDAQ closing up 183 points to 19,630. Time now to check sports and traffic with Captain and Cousin Paul Kopsky.
Okay, thanks, Sobe. The Cards failed to complete a sweep of the Reds, but will need to turn their attention to the first-place Cubs in town for 4 beginning tonight. Matthew Liberatore gets the ball in Game 1. And Chicago running back Maxwell Warner is expected to announce his school of choice this afternoon. The 3-star prospect will be choosing between Mizzou, Illinois, and Miami, among others. I'm Paul Kopsky from the Royal Banks of Missouri Sports Desk, and now on to traffic. An accident on westbound 70 before Lucas and Hunt is blocking the left lane with traffic jammed back to Kings Highway. Estimated clearance time is 3:20. Westbound 64 is running slow from Hampton to Clayton Skinker, and the signals are on flash at Natural Bridge and Jennings Station. This traffic report is brought to you by Neighbors Credit Union. If you're ready to upsize, downsize, or first-time home buy, turn to the team at Neighbors Credit Union. At Neighbors Credit Union, you'll find great rates, expert advice, and personalized friendly service throughout the entire home loan process and beyond. That's just what you'd expect from a great neighbor. Apply online today at neighborscu.org. From the KTRS Traffic Center, I'm Captain Paul Kopsky on the Big 550 KTRS.
Thank you, Captain Paul. KTRS weather. An extreme heat warning remains in effect until 9 Tuesday night. Today, sunny and humid with a high of 97. Heat index of 107. Tonight, partly cloudy with an overnight low of 77. Tomorrow, partly cloudy with a chance of spot storms and a high of 94. Right now, we have 96 degrees under sunny skies. The time is 3:09. I'm Sobe Bay, KTRS News, the talk of St. Louis.
We are back, baby, and I mean all three of us. Back together again. Heidi Glaus with Bob Ramsey and Josh Gilbert, and we are excited because we have got a jam-packed show and so much to catch up on because Josh was gone for 6 days, so we got to hear about his vacation. First up, though, we're going to talk to Kent Earhart just to kind of remind us all of this dangerous heat and what we should and shouldn't be doing because it will take your breath away if you're out there, and it's also a good time to check on your neighbors, especially if you have people that are a little older, maybe, make sure the air conditioning is working. So we'll talk to Kent coming up here at about 3:30. We'll also check in with Jordana Miller, who, as you guys know, works for ABC News in Jerusalem. So we'll check in with her and get the latest on Iran attacking this U.S. airbase in Qatar. So we'll find out what's going on there. And at 4 o'clock, we want to dig in a little bit further and just find out what is life really like there in Iran. So we're going to talk to an assistant professor at George Mason University. She's also the author of Fighting for Change in Iran, the Women, Life, Freedom Philosophy Against Political Islam. So where does it stand? And just to give you a little bit of her story, she fled there when she was just 17 years old.
Ooh.
So I want to know if she still has family there and what do they think? How do they feel about all of this? We got to talk a little sports with KTRS Sports Director Brendan Weezy because the Cubs are coming to town and, man.
A huge weekend. I'm texting Brendan the topics I want to go over with him.
All of it.
Unbelievable.
And we've got the NBA wrapped up with a new champion and possibly the future of the NBA.
Don't listen to all the announcers.
You don't think so?
How often does it happen?
Well, there's Kansas City Chiefs.
No, I'm talking about the NBA.
Oh, well, this is true. I was just thinking of franchises in history.
They don't suggest that. I listen to all the same people.
Yeah.
Here's the problem in our business. Everything's either got to be the greatest of all time or the worst of all time.
There's no in between.
They had a great season and more fun to watch. Let's just enjoy it.
And let's see what the Pacers can do next year. Were they lucky or, do they have a little bit of
it was really intense.
gumption?
It was a great series.
And things might have ended up a little bit differently had there not been injury,
it might have.
early on. So anyway, we'll talk about all that.
I wouldn't count on the Pacers being back next year.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Did anybody count on them being there this year?
Well, Achilles tendon, I think he ripped the whole Tyrese Halliburton. Is that it?
Did you not see it?
I didn't see it live.
I've always heard that is the worst. But, Chase and Tatum, same thing, right?
Did you see? Yeah. And when it happened, you could, if you folks go back and look, so he gets the ball and he's turning up the court and he moves forward. And as he moves forward, his heel doesn't come off the ground. And so what's happening there is, as he's moving forward, he already had the sore, or I should say injured calf. It's all connected. He moves forward. Well, why didn't his heel come off the floor? Because the calf's not letting the Achilles, is not stretching. So the Achilles stretches, and then you see that moment it snaps. His knee, you can watch, when you watch it 3 or 4 times, you'll see his knee, his whole lower leg, because it snaps. It's gross, but that's what happened. And, you would like to say, well, they shouldn't have let him play. He wanted to play.
Absolutely.
He was getting ready. He got treatments. He went out there.
And he had how many threes?
Was he 3 for 3 or something like that?
I think so. He was doing his thing.
It's just one of those things horrible things that happen to athletes. But if you're into that stuff, watch when it happens. You see as he moves forward, his heel doesn't come up because the Achilles stretches and then snaps.
Yeah, I can't think about it, can't watch it again, but we'll talk a little sports with Brendan Weezy. We also will check in with ABC's political analyst, Steve Roberts, on the strikes that, of course, the U.S. A lot of people are split on this. Should we or shouldn't we? So we're just going to kind of get a political analyst view of that. And then you have the other question. Did the president have the control to do this, or does he need Congress? Because I was just kind of going back through. I'm not sure that that is something I learned in 8th or 9th grade, and if I learned it, I definitely forgot it. So we'll turn to our favorite SLU law professor, talk about presidential powers. Of course, I'm talking about Greg Willard. We'll then talk to Alex Stone with ABC Las Vegas. Athletics are breaking ground on a new stadium. And
we've been following that story over the last year or so, and I'm shocked that I
didn't even know it was a done deal.
No, I hadn't either.
We'll get the latest there. We've got a little entertainment news, and then we'll wrap this show up with some randoms. Josh, you were out in California. You had a great family vacation. Finn old enough now to kind of enjoy some things. Took him on a couple of fun rides at Disneyland. Is that where you guys were?
Yeah, so we have in-laws out in San Diego and decided to fly into Anaheim or wherever. John Wayne Airport, wherever that's located. And
Orange County, yep.
Went to Disneyland for a day. There's 2 parks there, so we really rushed through it to cram it all in. And then the next day we went to Universal. It was Father's Day, and drove into L.A., over the Hollywood Hills, and into...
It's a cool drive, though.
It's such a cool... And everybody hates L.A.
Well,
did you go the 405?
Like I wasn't driving, Bob, but...
Oh.
You know, I'd have to call the Californians.
And you were doing it on a weekend, too, because maybe not quite as much traffic.
Yes. And
like the 405 to the 5.
Yeah, there you go.
Get off at La Brea. But it was really cool. And then we went down to San Diego for 5 days. Current temperature in San Diego right now, it's 1 o'clock out there. It is 69 degrees.
Was it great?
Guys, in the morning, it was cold.
Yeah.
I had to put a sweater on to go get coffee.
But isn't that why we pay what we pay, cost of living, and they pay what they pay?
You know, every time I go out there, and our in-laws live a block from the beach.
Oh,
so just going to get coffee in the morning is like a scenic, picturesque, whatever. And I'm always like, why don't we live out here, you know, and just do what we do back home, but just do it out here. And then, you know, they always have
you talked to Mr. Dorsey about that?
Yeah. I
can the whole thing.
No, Bob, you're going to have to push the buttons from now on.
Okay.
But you know how they have the real estate listings on the front of the windows as you walk by with your coffee?
Now you know.
Let me just check. You know, there's a window in San Diego, in Encinitas, that's covered with coffee because I had to spit it out on the prices of everything out there. But it is a great trip. And we are glad to be back. It is really hot.
It is really hot.
Can't wait to talk to Kent. I paid my nephew to water my plants, so they're still alive. But I got to talk to my guy Bob over here.
Yeah.
Because I just went to Disney.
And you guys are both Disney adults.
Love Disney.
We are Disney adults.
I am not in this group.
You're normal.
Yeah.
Alex Stone is going to join us in the 5 o'clock hour.
He's a Disney adult.
He's a Disney adult.
I mean, he kind of makes it a thing, right?
Yeah. And he lives there, though. It makes a little more sense.
But he works for ABC.
Yeah.
His paychecks are signed by Mickey. He gets to go for free, if I'm not mistaken. But as far as teenagers, Finn's in the perfect age because Disneyland, especially, even compared to Disney World, it's for little kids. It's for kids. There are no thrill rides there.
It's all teacups.
It's all teacups.
There are roller coasters there.
I mean, there's Big Thunder Mountain.
Yeah.
It doesn't even go upside down, Bob. You know, Tiana's Bayou, which was formerly Splash Mountain. There's a big drop there. Finn got a little scared on that.
It's fun.
But all in all, it's for kids.
Look, here's where I'll part ways with you on this. I think the key to Disney is their attention to detail and creating an atmosphere. It's not a thrill ride park. You want to do that, go to Ohio. Then you get all the roller coasters you want. Disney has some of that, but again, I think it's their attention to detail and the way they create an atmosphere to take you out of the real world, and I think they're great at it.
With the castles and with the princesses,
everything.
That's what it's about?
Well, no, it's not so much that, but everything they do, whether you're on Main Street, which harkens back to 150 years ago, or whether you're in Tomorrowland with Space Mountain and all those kinds of things that go there, whether you go to the Haunted Mansion or Pirates of the Caribbean. Certainly there is the fantasy land of, it is Fantasyland, and the Matterhorn and the castle and all that stuff.
I feel like you're just dropping names left and
Yes.
right, and I have no idea
I'm
what you're
here
talking
for it.
about.
It's the attention to detail in all of those things.
The paint, and I don't want to say anything about Six Flags because I was talking to Brendan earlier today, the difference between Disneyland and Six Flags. You want thrill rides, go to Six Flags. I mean, the Batman is one of the best roller coasters
Terrific.
I've
It's
ever been on.
fantastic.
Terrific.
But you look around Six Flags, needs a coat of paint here. You know, not all of the booths are open. Disney just they spit you out off of every ride into a gift shop. But
Yeah.
each gift shop is different
And
from the
tons
last
of
one.
cool stuff
And just
to break your bank.
I hate to say it because I say it all the time and I sound contrite, but it is magical. Okay? All right?
Here, let me give you one more example of the attention to detail. I happen to know I had met and was talking with a police officer from down there, a chief actually. You know why you never see a dead body at Disneyland or Disney World?
Because they hide them.
Immediately.
Uh-huh.
As soon as you keel over, you can't do
wow,
that. It's a
yeah.
scene, right? They can. That's the kind of juice they have, and it might mess up. It might mess up Space Mountain if you had to step over a dead body. Somebody had a heart attack, or they whisk them away, and that's how important detail is to Disney.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you both what is absolutely magical, and I will share a video of it later. So we were in Eureka Springs for the last 3 days. Beautiful.
Northern Arkansas.
Yes.
Is that the Glass Cathedral? They've got a bunch of
They've got
art museums.
That
old
is in that area.
hotels
Yeah.
and
Northwest Arkansas.
little shops, and you're not Crystal Bridges. You're
Yeah, Crystal Bridges.
That's not it. You have
That's
to
not
go
it.
another
That's further
hour.
west,
Yeah, on this. This is just cute shops, live music. We did a little karaoke, but we were meeting up with friends. The group that I was supposed to meet back 6 weeks ago in Florida. So we all just kind of pre-appendix. And so it was a lot of campfires, a lot of great storytelling, little pool time. But then yesterday, we went back downtown to do a little shopping, and we stumbled into a store called East and West. Now, no one mentioned this on the text line. They did mention the fantastic crab legs, which we went to have at, I think it's called Local Cafe.
And it delivered?
So delicious.
Wow.
But East by West, and the actual tagline of the place, Eureka Springs Working Bunnies. Now, I'm not talking about Bunny Ranch that some of you gentlemen might think of immediately as I watch Josh's
No
ears
one would say
perk
that
up.
out loud.
I am talking about a rabbit who checks you out at the end of your purchase. Marsha bought a sweatshirt, and as she goes to ring it up, the rabbit takes her credit card and then also hands her the pin and receipt. And I will show you because it is quite amazing. It's a cute rabbit. But
I can't even imagine.
I know you can't. And that's why I will
okay.
share
Does he
a
push the
video.
buttons?
No, his assistant who owns
He
the
doesn't
place
know math.
does that. But the rabbit is on the counter and takes it
This is
all in
insane.
the mouth. And yes, and it's on TikTok and all these things. And so it was our last day yesterday. We didn't even plan on staying, but it was beautiful. And we're like, why not? We'll roll in tomorrow morning. So we got up early. And so our friends who weren't there with us, they're back here, said, you guys, I just saw this on TikTok. You've got to go see if this is real. And the shop was open. The rabbit was there. And it was fascinating.
That's crazy.
Fascinating.
Okay,
So
I'm watching videos of this thing now.
Rabbit?
This thing. It's a rabbit.
I'm telling you, I just got to make sure that my audio, I don't know what the audio is on this because there might have been
blank.
Yes.
Blankety blank.
Uh-huh.
But they hand the rabbit the bills. The rabbit hands the bills to the customer.
Yeah.
Oh, You forgot my receipt. Oh, don't worry. The rabbit's got that too.
It's so
Oddly, he gives you
crazy.
carrots and change.
Yeah.
That's the strange part.
Yeah. And this is what happened Friday when I was talking about this a little bit, or Thursday. Did you get to visit the Turpentine Creek Big Cat Rescue? We saw the signs, but we did not see that. They said, we love Eureka Springs. Did you go to Eureka Springs Underground? I didn't even see a sign for
like a
that
speakeasy?
one.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we
Let
went
us
to the
know.
grotto. We went to the local cafe. Lots of fun stuff. But like I said, we really were just catching up with friends. So we really ventured in less than we thought we would because we were just, chilling.
We'll be that way in August. We might just kind of go that way.
Just to
Take a different route and check it out.
just be careful because they do not know what a straight road looks
no,
like.
no
It
way, no
is
chance. Once you get south of
weaving
Branson.
around the whole time, but it was fantastic. Couple things happening here in St. Louis. Did you see that St. Luke's is going to close DePere Hospital? Which
What?
maybe we'll talk to
Whoa,
Eric about
That's
that.
where I go.
Well, you're going to have to find a new place.
It's practically brand new.
It does look new. St. Luke's is closing its hospital in DePere, ending services there effective August 1st, which is not that far
I
away.
just had surgery there.
Yeah, a
You did?
statement.
Yeah, my gallbladder.
Gallbladder.
Oh, really?
Um,
My new GP, general practitioner.
you
is that what
finally
they call
got one.
it? I got one. She's great.
Congratulations on adulting.
She is in the medical buildings right in front of St. Luke's.
Oh.
So it's the same exit.
Well, good for you. I'm talking
I
about
think
my
she's-
hospital.
Yeah, she's still open.
I'm glad you're going to be fine.
I'm
Yeah.
What
gonna be
about
good.
me?
I don't know.
What the heck?
A statement says, and of course, from the healthcare provider, which operates a larger hospital in Chesterfield, the decision followed a comprehensive evaluation of occupancy trends, the evolving healthcare landscape, and St. Luke's long term strategic priorities. They have 143 beds there, and I guess they have continued to face low utilization.
What?
So
Maybe they need more people like me that goes in
yeah.
there every couple of months.
You guys aren't getting sick enough.
I guess that is true.
That is a shock.
I was shocked by it as well because you drive past it and it looks like the parking lot is packed.
It is. Well, and then there's a doctor's building there. I wonder what somebody's got to step in there and do something. They're just not going to let it sit.
Well, Darren's not here. Otherwise, we would talk about South County being a complete mystery to us North County people. But are there hospitals near there? Isn't there one off of one of the other ferries that handles things like that?
I mean, I think that there are going to be hospitals nearby,
There's a Mercy South down on Tesson Ferry.
but I don't know that all of them are going to provide the actual, services
Up
that
here on-
you're looking for.
Up here in Olive, across from the West Olive movie theater, didn't they just build a really big?
Yeah, it's nice. I've had a
Hospital right
surgery
there.
there too.
Wow. What
And
organ
in
did
St.
you leave
Luke's.
there?
Let me
Yeah.
see your surgery passport, Bob. How many stamps you got?
I thought you were going to ask for the scars. That's better.
We can count those up. It'll take a
Bob's
while.
Got to pump one more, and he gets a free sub.
Well, and I'm just hoping they can, push those employees somewhere else and people
Yeah.
aren't losing jobs because that's a tough one as well.
Boy, the care there is terrific.
Well, they're saying, that we'll work with providers to ensure a smooth transition for patients, and we'll get more as this story continues to develop. But you guys know what we have coming up with this show. It's a jam-packed show, and hopefully you'll hang out with us and be a part of it because you are the most important part to the Heidi Glaus Show with Josh and Bob on the Big 550 KTRS St. Louis. There's another important part. Captain Paul Kopsky, how are the roads?
Well, Heidi, westbound 64 is running slow from Kings Highway to Clayton Skinker. Southbound 270 is crowded from north of Olive down to 64. Southbound 55 is busy at South Broadway, and the signals are on flash at Natural Bridge and Jennings Station. This traffic report is brought to you by Neighbors Credit Union. If you're ready to upsize, downsize, or first-time home buy, turn to the team at Neighbors Credit Union. At Neighbors Credit Union, you'll find great rates, expert advice, and personalized friendly service throughout the entire home loan process and beyond. That's just what you'd expect from a great neighbor. Apply online today at neighborscu.org. From the KTRS Traffic Center, I'm Captain Paul Kopsky on the Big 550 KTRS.
Well, we didn't know when it was going to hit, but it has hit and hit us with a ton of bricks. It is so doggone hot. Even if you've got a great American Standard heating and air conditioning unit, it's going to be tough to keep up with it. Make sure that everything is running properly, and the easiest way to do that is to call my friends at AAA Home Services. They're your independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer, but of course, they service all air conditioners and all furnaces, and it's easy to get a hold of them, and it needs to be easy, right? Because you don't want to have to wait 4 or 5 days to get a return call or to get somebody to come out. AAA will take care of you immediately. 636-397-3200. Call them. Get a service call. And in fact, when they come out, don't forget to ask about AAA's home service plans. For an annual fee, they'll come in the spring, they'll come in the fall, and any time you need them. Again, 636-397-3200 or online, AAASTL.com. Call AAA. We're on our way.
Well, Linda on the Woods Basement Systems text line is trying to scoop me because I was just about to read a story here that says Old Town Donuts wins National Donut Contest. And that's what Linda just said.
Fenton?
Hey, guys, Bob, you're going to love this. Old Town Donuts won Best Donut Shop in the country.
I keep telling everybody, is that true?
This one is on North Florissant Road.
Oh.
Came in at number 1 after facing off against 63 other shops around the country. So there was the Best Donuts in America bracket style tournament. And Old Town Donuts has, of course, been serving up fresh, award-winning donuts for more than 50 years. And with donuts made around the clock, they say they are proud to be the go-to spot for the sweet cravings any time of the day.
So it's great. It's my donut shop growing up. My dentist's office shares a wall.
That's interesting.
Works
They
for
probably made a
them.
deal.
Yeah, so we would always get our teeth cleaned and then go over and get a donut. But it's also great because now that I live out in St. Charles, they've also got a store in Cottleville as well. So it's still our donut
I
shop.
wonder if the one in Fenton, I don't think it is affiliated, but it's really, really good. It's
Well,
Old Town. Maybe it is.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's
and
exciting.
that's a big deal, especially when you've been doing something for more than 50 years to still be recognized that you do it so darn well. Here's the other thing that I wanted to bring up to you guys. I mean, it is as you said, Josh, it is a hot day, a perfect day for a pool. And we did spend a little time at the pool at the campground over the weekend. And the pool rules were a little different than signs maybe we had seen before. Now, this one maybe you have seen in other places where they ask you to shower before you get in, which does anybody do that?
No.
Well, when
No.
I was a kid at the Maplewood pool, we did that.
And you had to.
Yeah, well, nobody was standing there watching you, obviously.
Yeah.
But you were supposed to.
And I get if you're on a beach and you're coming back, into the resort and you got to get the sand off your shoes before getting in there. But if you're just going in, I've just wonder who actually follows that rule.
As a lifeguard, and Heidi, you were a lifeguard
Yes.
when you were in your teens, it was one of the first rules, and we never enforced it. What am I going to go in there the shower?
Yeah, how would you know?
And check you?
I hope
Come
not.
here, let me smell those armpits. You know?
That's
no.
what the chlorine's for, no?
Right?
That's-
And you just
Well,
jump in.
we just did it because that's what you're supposed to do. You'd have the locker room, and the showers are right there as you walked out the door. Psh, pull the chain, get a little shower, psh, out to the pool.
So you did do it.
Yeah, at the Maplewood pool when I was a kid.
We would sometimes take a really cold shower so that
Well,
the
we
water.
know why.
Right. But the water would be nice and warm when you jumped in the pool.
Oh, because the shower was cold.
'Cause the
Yeah,
shower
there you
was
go.
cold.
Oh,
Yeah.
that makes more sense. Well, here's the other one. No spitting, which I hope not. No snot. How often do you see a kid, though, in the pool with like a snotty nose? But that one. Then in the bathroom, this is where it got even more interesting. Do not flush with your foot. Have you ever seen that on a...
I've
Why
never
not?
seen
Yeah.
that printed.
Why wouldn't? Why can't I?
Because then what if I go to use my hand and your nasty, filthy
Feet.
foot has
Maybe-
been on the handle?
Maybe you should use your foot too.
No, I'm a normal human.
They need to have all foot flushers.
That,
Now,
you
that
know
would
that's what
be-
we have in the RV.
Really?
Uh-huh. You
and
do
that
it
would
by
be
your
okay,
foot.
but yeah, no, we're not doing the foot.
Foot flushers.
What are
Uh-huh.
we? What are
And
we,
then-
wilderness people?
You
What's
mentioned
wrong
the,
with
you
you?
mentioned the chain on the shower.
Yeah,
They
that's-
should have. I can't flush with the chain.
Somebody said the reason for showering before getting in the pool is to saturate your skin with water so it does not absorb all the chemicals.
Oh, it's to protect me.
Is that right?
I've never heard that. It's okay with me.
Somebody else so excited for Old Town Donuts. They deserve it. Then going back, there was one more. I mean, they really got detailed on these rules. Look over your shoulder to make sure everything disappears. This was in the bathroom.
Oh, that you didn't leave anything.
Behind.
That's
have
a funny way to write it.
Have you ever seen that?
I've not seen it written that way. I kind of like it.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird.
It was very odd.
Did I tell
But-
you guys one time we were going to Florida, family vacation? I was 16, 17. We took 2 cars.
How many?
There was 5 of us total.
Okay.
My parents were going to stay for another week, and the kids were all driving back.
Oh,
My mom is driving my Camaro at the time.
Oh, she is cool.
99 T-tops, Bob.
Of course.
It's only
Goes without saying.
It's only a V6 though. She's at a Burger King and she goes to flush the toilet and she says she heard something. And she said, "Well, that was weird." And then she comes out to go start the car and she can't find her keys.
Oh no! No!
That's not good.
We're in Florida,
Not good.
going to Pensacola, and she flushed the keys down the toilet.
This is a movie.
My dad had to call a local Chevy dealership and give him the VIN number of the car, and they had keys made.
They could cut a key.
How quickly? Like immediately, or we're talking like?
Oh, he showed up a couple hours later.
Thank goodness
That's
it wasn't like at
good.
midnight or something.
It went pretty quick.
And so there was no talk of, can we get a plumber
Right.
and go down there?
No,
and-
I don't want those keys.
Can we talk about
Okay,
Those
Seinfeld.
keys are Burger King's
the
now.
water pressure that it must have had? Because I would have thought keys would.
And there
kinda
was a
linger in the
fob on
bottom.
There was some house keys. I can't believe that it sucked the whole thing
Well,
down.
sometimes, hey, you in a public thing,
Yeah.
at a public rest
Mhm,
area, you need power.
That's
You absolutely
probably
need power.
a great point. All right, let's take a quick break here, and we'll be back. Hopefully, Kent Earhart will join us to give us kind of a lesson in this crazy extreme heat this week. It definitely feels like a St. Louis summer day today, but are we facing dangerous heat and humidity? First Alert for meteorologist Kent Earhart joins us with his expertise. I mean, it feels hot, but are we looking at dangerous temperatures?
Well, I think it depends on, what your goal is. I've got two guys working on my house right now, putting up a new deck, and I was just looking out the window at them. You may be able to hear them pounding, but I thought to myself, I worry about these guys. I go out every once in a while and say, you need water, but they're well prepared. They're acclimated to it. They do this, in the winter and the summer, and but it certainly can be dangerous. You can be overcome by the heat, and you've got to stay hydrated. You got to watch your exposure to the sun. This is happening at exactly the time that we have the strongest sun of the year. The rays are almost direct. So between the strong sun and the heat and the humidity, it can definitely overwhelm you if you're not careful.
Yeah, and is this kind of early, or maybe because we've had so much rain, our bodies aren't used to. You kind of mentioned the guys working. Yeah.
Exactly. I think that's what it is. We went from, we haven't even had a 90-degree day. We were saying that for weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, bang, we're in the mid to upper 90s with the heat index up over 105 at times. And that's dangerous stuff. The Weather Service has new criteria for the heat advisories, extreme heat advisories and warnings that they put out. And as they continue to fine tune that stuff. But the bottom line is you have to know your limits. You have to think and work smart. That's all you can do. I mean, and it's funny because I run into guys like these guys that are working on the house right now. I run into them and they just giggle when we talk. They hear them talking about, loose fitting, light colored, loose fitting clothing and all of that. I mean, they're out in it all day, every day, and they know what it takes for them to get by.
And so when you have a stretch like this into the mid 90s with the high humidity, is there an expectation of generally how long these heat domes or whatever the technical term is last in St. Louis? Because most of us have memories of even growing up here. Summers are always like this, but these come in stretches, don't they?
They do, yeah, but this one's going to be extended. I don't see any real relief this week. So we've had the weekend. We hit 96 on Saturday. We hit 96 on Sunday. We're well into the 90s again today. We're going to be in the 90s again tomorrow, but we'll start to pick up some, I think, hit and miss type showers here and there. Just some pop up stuff. Nothing too serious, but enough that if you get a rain shower overhead, the clouds can block the sun, and that makes it a little more tolerable. Because that's another thing when we talk about this heat index. It's a combination of the heat, the temperature, and the amount of humidity that we have, and it's how much of a toll it takes on your body, how efficient you can be at cooling your body. But that's in the shade. That's a temperature without direct sunlight. You get out into the direct sunlight. The heat index goes out the window because you're going to add another 10 to 15 degrees to how it's actually going to feel.
Wow.
And that's when it can be pretty overwhelming. So, in the afternoons, a lot of times we'll cloud up. And I think we'll see more of that tomorrow than we're seeing today, and probably some pop-up showers here and there that will help a little bit. Because the lawns all of a sudden are, they were just so lush and everything, and now they're starting to burn because of this intense heat.
Yeah, I saw someone jogging at noon today, which seems dangerous. If somebody wants to get out and play a round of golf or walk or run, should they do it early in the morning or later in the evening? Does it matter which one?
Well, I mean, early in the morning obviously would be better if you can. It's even muggier at that time of day as far as the depression. The difference between the temperature and the dew point is it's really reduced. So the air is what my dad used to say. It was thick. It was heavy. The air is very heavy out there, and that's what you're going to get in the morning. But at least you don't have the kind of heat. But when we sweat, the cooling effect comes when that sweat evaporates. Okay, our bodies know to sweat because we're overheating, so they produce the perspiration. When that perspiration evaporates from our skin, that's what cools us. It's not just the fact that there's perspiration on, because we know we can have hot water, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the fact that the perspiration is on our skin. It's when that perspiration evaporates, that is a cooling effect. That absorbs heat. But it won't evaporate when the air is so humid that it just won't absorb any more moisture. That's when you get into the problems.
Yeah, well,
your body can't cool itself.
You kind of pointed out we got to drink lots of water and kind of check on our neighbors because it is going to be hot for the next, sounds like several days. Kent, thank you so much for giving us the forecast.
Always a pleasure. Please be careful.
10 minutes before 4 o'clock, Captain Paul, how are the roads looking?
Heidi, there's an accident on eastbound 70 at Church Street in Wentzville that has been cleared, but there's a residual slowdown back to Highway W. Close by, there's a crash on westbound 70 at Prospect with a stop-and-go jam back to Route N. Westbound 64 is running slow from Kings Highway to Clayton Skinker. Southbound 270 is crowded from north of Olive down to 64. And southbound 55 is busy from Gasconade to South Broadway. This traffic report is brought to you by Club Fitness. Club Fitness is the premier health club in St. Louis with 24-hour access at all of their 19 locations and endless amenities. You will see what everyone has been talking about. Sign up today at any location or online at clubfitness.us. From the KTRS Traffic Center, I'm Captain Paul Kopsky on the Big 550 KTRS.
from ABC News. I'm Lindsay Davis, anchor of Prime, streaming weeknights on ABC News Live. President Trump, in a social media post, says the U.S. and Qatar intercepted 13 of 14 missiles launched by Iran toward a key U.S. base in Qatar today. Iran's response to the U.S. strikes on 3 Iranian nuclear facilities over the weekend. The president, after meeting with his national security team, called Iran's response weak and says it's time for peace. At the same time, Iran is vowing not to surrender its nuclear program. ABC's Ian Panel says it could set the stage for more conflict in the region if Iran decides to strike U.S. assets.
This really is dangerous ground, that this starts to become far more regional, and that will bring in many players. It will involve the popular mobilization units inside Iraq. It potentially involves Hezbollah, who've also been active again today, and there will be consequences.
Democrats and a few Republicans have voiced concern the president did not inform top congressional leaders from both parties before the U.S. took military action. Columbia graduate student and pro-Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil was detained by ICE agents in March, is speaking out in his first on-camera interview since a judge ordered his release from a Louisiana detention facility while his case is pending. He was detained by ICE for organizing pro-Palestinian protests on campus last year. The Trump administration claims Khalil is a threat to national security. I sat down with Khalil and asked him about his legal battle. He says he'll fight for his right to free speech.
It's a very, very long fight. It may take years. But I will focus on is continuing to advocate for Palestinians.
You can see more of my exclusive interview with Mahmoud Khalil tonight on ABC News Live Prime. Extreme heat is smothering much of the country. Heat alerts and advisories stretch from the southwest to the northeast. Some regions will see the hottest mercury levels since 2012. Philadelphia could see real field temperatures of 105 degrees. You're listening to ABC News.
This is KTRS News. I'm Sobe Bay. Dangerous high temperatures in the St. Louis area has an extreme heat warning in effect until 9 Tuesday night. Health officials warn that spending long periods outdoors in these extreme temperatures can lead to heat-related illnesses. It's recommended to stay in air-conditioned environments as much as possible and to drink plenty of water. Anyone in need of a cooling shelter should call the United Way at 211. A woman died after being in a crash in Wildwood. The crash happened just after 12:30 p.m. at the intersection of Missouri Highway 100 and St. Albans Road. On Sunday, police identified the woman as 77-year-old Donna Langire of Wildwood. Police say Langire was traveling southbound in a Ford C-Max on St. Albans Road and attempted to enter Highway 100 when she was struck by a 2015 Dodge Ram traveling westbound on Highway 100. Langire was taken to a hospital where she was pronounced dead. The driver and passengers in the Dodge were taken to an area hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. An investigation is underway after a fatal officer-involved shooting near the Grove neighborhood. Police say this all unfolded around 2 yesterday morning when officers responded to a shooting in the 4100 block of Manchester. Upon arrival, police found a man who had been shot. He was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Police later located the suspect who was riding a moped along Manchester near Sarah. Police say the suspect refused to stop and sped off, leading to a police chase. The chase ended in a vacant lot along the 3900 block of Clayton. As the suspect was getting off his moped, police say he refused orders and reached into a bag. That's when 2 detectives fired shots, killing the suspect. Positive identification on the suspect is pending. Chesterfield-based St. Luke's Hospital Network announced today that it's closing its DePere Hospital on August 1st. The hospital network states in a press release that the closure was a difficult decision, resulting in increasing financial pressures and persistently low utilization of DePere Hospital. The Nordstrom department store inside the St. Louis Galleria is closing this summer. A Nordstrom spokesman explained that the decision is part of a bigger plan to focus more on digital operations and stores closer to their headquarters in Seattle. Nordstrom also operates 2 Nordstrom Rack stores, one in Brentwood and another in Manchester. The store in the Galleria in Richmond Heights opened in 2011 and will close its doors for good on August 21st. Illinois payroll jobs are holding steady, and the unemployment rate was unchanged in May. More from KTRS's Jim Fairchild.
The Illinois Department of Employment Security has announced that non-farm payrolls were nearly unchanged over the month, up just 100 to 6,166,100 in May. The unemployment rate was 4.8% in May. The industry sectors with the largest over-the-month job increases included professional and business services, financial activities, and leisure and hospitality. The industry sectors with the largest monthly payroll decreases included trade, transportation and utilities, government and private education, and health services. Jim Fairchild, KTRS News.
This KTRS Business Minutes is brought to you by Walter Knoll Florist, the place for all your floral needs. Place your order anytime at WKF.com. And up down Wall Street, Dow Jones at the close up 374 points to 42,581. S&P 500 closed up 57 points to 6,025. The NASDAQ up 183 points to 19,630. Time now to check sports and traffic with Captain Paul Kopsky.
Okay, thanks, Sobe. The Cards failed to complete a sweep of the Reds, but will need to turn their attention to the first-place Cubs in town for 4 beginning tonight. Matthew Liberatore gets the ball in Game 1. And St. Louis City SC returns to action Wednesday against Orlando after an idle week for the MLS. City SC has 1 win, 1 loss, and 1 draw since David Critchley took over as caretaker coach. I'm Paul Kopsky from the Royal Banks of Missouri Sports Desk, and now on to traffic. A crash on westbound 70 at Prospect is causing a stop-and-go jam back to Route N. Estimated clearance time is 4:25. Traffic is still slow on eastbound 70 from Highway W to Wentzville Parkway after an earlier crash. Westbound 64 is running slow from Kings Highway to Hampton. Southbound 270 is crowded from north of Olive down to Manchester. And southbound 55 is busy from Gasconade to South Broadway. This traffic report is brought to you by Aldon Indoor Air Quality Specialists. Repairs are cheaper than replacements. That's a myth. Stop pouring money into that old AC. We'll buy back your old AC system and give you $500 plus 0% financing for 24 months. Your family stays cool and your wallet does too. Visit al-don.com to learn more about Daikin Fit Systems. From the KTRS Traffic Center, I'm Captain Paul Kopsky on the Big 550 KTRS.
Thank you, Captain Paul. KTRS weather. An extreme heat warning remains in effect until 9 tomorrow night. Sunny and humid today with a high of 97, a heat index of 106. Tonight, partly cloudy with an overnight low of 77. And tomorrow, partly cloudy with a chance of spot storms, a high of 94. Right now, under sunny skies, we have 97 degrees and a heat index of 106. The time is 4:08. I'm Sobe Bay, KTRS News, the talk of St. Louis.
Our headlines for this Monday afternoon, June 23rd. Nordstrom to leave the Galleria in August. The St. Louis Galleria will lose one of its anchor tenants this summer. Nordstrom confirmed to the Post that the department store chain's last day at the mall will be August 24th. We believe we'll be best able to serve customers in the area by leveraging our surrounding stores and through our digital channels. That's what a company spokesperson said. Decisions like this are never easy, and we understand the impact they have on our team members. They went ahead and said that taking care of our employees through this transition includes helping workers find new placements within the Seattle-based company. Over the past few months, the Galleria, of course, in Richmond Heights, has seen a number of stores leave. I didn't realize Forever 21, Anthropologie, Aveda, they've all left. But there have been other ones that have come in, Barnes & Noble, JD Sports, Savage Fenty. According to the website of the Galleria owner, Brookfield Properties, the mall currently lists only 2 vacant spaces for lease. But I kind of was trying to place, when did that Nordstrom open in the Galleria? They opened in 2011, and back then they had like 30 personal stylists. Do you remember?
Oh, my gosh.
Kind of crazy.
Yes. I had an ex that worked at Nordstrom, and the people on staff there, people would call them. I'm like, I didn't realize St. Louis had the kind of shoppers like this.
Oh, Josh.
But I've walked into the Nordstrom at West County, and it looks like a empty factory, like a warehouse. It used to be racks and racks of clothes,
The
and now
second level in particular.
the second level, exactly.
In particular, yeah.
And I just wonder if department stores are where you go on to try clothes on,
And then you go and you
and then
purchase
you
it
buy them
online. I think a lot of people do that.
'Cause they, there's stores that's their model. We've got one size of everything, one of every size, and then if you need it, you tell me.
We'll order
Go
it for
try
you.
it on. What size are you? We'll order it. It's going to come straight to your house.
Yeah. Interesting times.
Very. Yeah, things are leaving. I don't like that.
I don't either.
Here's a guy that was trying to leave. Man gets stuck in chimney while trying to get his dog out of a locked building.
Chimney.
In Bristol, Connecticut, firefighters had to rescue a man who got stuck in the chimney of a Connecticut Parks building while trying to retrieve his dog, he says, from a bathroom when the doors automatically locked for the night. Police were called Sunday morning. There's a lot to this story. In Rockwell Park in Bristol for a burglary complaint. They responded to the scene and got the man out, having to remove parts of the chimney and part of the building.
Oh, my gosh.
So damage might be up to $10,000. He wasn't injured, but he was arrested, charged with burglary, trespassing, and criminal mischief. He was released on bond. Now, a message seeking comment sent to an email address listed in the public records. Phone numbers were not in service. Online court records did not list a lawyer for him. Now, the man got stuck in the flue of the chimney of Mrs. Rockwell's Pavilion, a building named after a beneficiary of the park. They close at 10 o'clock automatically. It's not clear how long the dog had been in there or how long the man had been in the chimney. It's a crazy scenario. They say the dog was all right. I don't think the man will be.
Ooh.
It sounds hinky.
How do you even,
If they charge him with burglary, surely they know something more.
A regular person says, "Oh, I got to call the cops or the fire department."
Mm-hmm.
So something else was going on through this person's mind.
Well, and even, would it seem easier to break a window than go through the chimney?
Yes. That's my first thought.
Yeah.
Even if you're a bad guy or somebody who's not really on the up and up, you would go the easier route.
One
right?
would think. Because I don't think there's any easy way to get through a chimney.
I don't know how they used to build chimneys, but as long as I've been alive, they've been
they're
little pipes.
Yeah,
you know?
It's tight.
The chimney itself, it looks big and massive, but the actual pipe that comes from your living room to the top of the house,
it's little.
No.
Very little.
Big enough for a squirrel, though.
Yeah.
Plenty of experience with that.
The old house that we lived in, a duck got in.
A duck?
A duck was flapping around.
A duck would at least be cute. A squirrel?
Yeah, well, the duck was covered in soot.
Oh.
There goes that white rug. All right, and did you see that up in Wayne, Michigan, the mass shooting that was averted at a church over the weekend? Did you
was it a
guys see
security
this?
guard? Is that the story?
So his mother had gone to the church. They're not sure what the connection was besides that, but he showed up with AR-15 style rifle, multiple rounds of ammunition, body armor.
Oh.
People were starting to make phone calls because they saw him driving erratically and unloading this stuff in the parking lot.
Oh.
He started firing at the church from the outside as he's moving in, and a parishioner in a truck hit him and stopped the attack from happening.
Good
That's
for
awesome.
them.
While the guy was on the ground, church security neutralized the situation. Man has passed. But
I saw a video from inside the church and everybody scrambling to get out of the main area and back to the back of the church.
So scary.
Very frightening.
I was driving in my car when I heard this story, and I was wondering, would I be bold enough to just run the guy over?
You never know.
Well-
but you
Parishioner
hope you will
did,
be.
and saved countless lives.
But he is also armed and could easily turn that on you. I mean, it's more and more, these are kind of the stories that you think or you hope that you read in a good novel that keeps you turning the pages, not in real life. But you will find plenty of those at the St. Louis County Library and then some. I mean, St. Louis County Library offers something for everyone. I haven't mentioned it in a while, but especially as the heat, kind of comes and you're looking for things to do with the kids. They've got story time for the smaller ones. But then St. Louis County Library has the Teen Creative Lab, and it is fantastic. It's on the second floor of the Clark Family Branch, and it's kind of a teen-focused maker space where they provide all the tools and resources to bring that maybe exciting, crazy idea to life. The space includes a 3D printer, a recording studio. How cool is that? They've even got the green wall so you can make movies, and a video game room, Mac computers loaded with all the software that you need to make a little movie if you want. It's all there at St. Louis County Library. The Clark Family Branch is fantastic, but there are other branches that offer things like the Library of Things, where you can actually go and check out a fort building kit. Maybe you don't have the blankets and the pillows like we did when we were little that would make a complete mess in the living room.
Right.
Well, you can check them out at St. Louis County Library. You can learn more about everything they offer, slcl.org. Coming up, we're going to talk to the assistant professor at George Mason University. She's also the author of Fighting for Change in Iran. We'll find out her take on the United States stepping in. As you know, the United States attacked Iranian nuclear sites over the weekend. We wanted to go a bit deeper to know more about the people there. So we're turning to Fariba Parsa, who's an assistant professor at George Mason University and the author of Fighting for Change in Iran, the Women, Life, Freedom Philosophy Against Political Islam. Thanks for making time for us this afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Do you say Iran or Iran?
I say Iran.
Okay.
Iran.
Because
You would know.
we hear everyone say it differently and nobody kind of comes out. You were actually born and raised there. What do most of us here in the United States get wrong?
I think the United States didn't get wrong. I think that the reason or the cause for this war is Ali Khamenei or the Islamic Republic, because there is no hostility from Iranian people to Israel or Americans. There is nothing. But the Islamic Republic has an ideology, as an Islamic ideology that's built on three main things: is hostility with United States, hostility with Israel, and women's hijab. That's a symbol for Islam. So that is, unfortunately, we have since Islamic Revolution in 1979, we have still dealing with a revolutionary government that went to is in war with Israel and want to disappear Israel, and then in war with in United States. But the Iranian people have no hostility. They are actually think Israel and Iran are their friends. They want to live in peace with the entire world, with the rest of the world. That we don't understand. The war is not between Iran and United States. The war is between USA and Israel and the Islamic Republic. Mm-hmm. And I think it is so important to distinguish between Iran and the Islamic Republic.
So, But when it comes to the Islamic Republic, do the people of Iran get to vote on anything? I mean, they have a president, but they also have the supreme leader. Is there a chance? We've seen uprisings in the past where the woman was murdered while in police custody. We thought that was going to make some big changes, but how are the people of Iran in relation to their government? Can they vote these people out?
No, that's a problem. Actually, research shows 90% of Iranian people are against the regime, and several times they protest, they demonstrated. It was happened in 2009, 2019, and then 2021, 22, and the government just killed people on the street. And there is no chance to have change the government with a peaceful instrument. There is nothing else just to make a new revolution. So that's the problem. And the Islamic Revolution since 1979, since that most of Iranians were born after the Islamic Revolution. Mm-hmm. The majority of Iranians born after 1979. And then they say we didn't even exist to have a chance to vote or decide. So now they are tired and they don't want it, and there is no any way to get rid of this regime. That's the problem with all Iranian to have no, there's no democratic way to get rid of this government, of this regime.
And Fariba, isn't it true that prior to the 79 revolution, that Tehran was a very forward-thinking, cosmopolitan city, and it's been such a dramatic change for so long, I feel like most of the world has forgotten that.
Yeah, that's true. Before, during the Pahlavi, the monarchy, Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi, the U.S. and Iran had a very friendly relationship. Also, Iran had a good relationship with Israel. But after Ayatollah Khomeini came in power in 1979, it's changed 180%. So instead of be friends, it became an enemy. And since then, it's like they are in war and they never stop. It's like a revolution, never stop. And then the war against Israel and U.S. is never stop. So that's actually is the time to finish. The people finish this, and then people can be free from this this regime. This we think is a terrorist regime. Actually, the terror and the killing of people is more toward its own people than maybe people other places.
Is the Islamic Republic as strong as it was in the early 80s? Is it starting to fade at all?
No. It's Islamic Republic had his proxies in Syria, in Lebanon, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and Hamas in Gaza, and there were Houthi. We know all of them have been almost eliminated. They don't have power, so it is. It's left just the Islamic Republic, and we can see that there is the Islamic Republic, even among the IRGC, the Revolutionary Guard, and then the army, their division. So that's the Islamic Republic is very, very big.
Got it. We're talking to Fariba Parsa, who is the author of Fighting for Change in Iran, The Women, Life, Freedom Philosophy Against Political Islam. You actually fled when you were 17. How were you able to do that?
Yeah, we have in prison, we have prisoner that age in teenager. Just a few days ago, there are 3 teenagers has been accused to death because they have criticized the Islamic regime, or maybe they have accused to collaborate with Israel. So that it's very normal for Islamic Republic to arrest people at age of 12, 13. Just in 2022, 23, when we had a Women Life Freedom uprising, there are many of the prisoners they were teenagers, and unfortunately there are also some teenagers have been executed.
It's awful. Do you still have family there?
Yes, I have a sister.
Yeah.
And who are the allies of Iran right now in that region, or is Russia or China in worrying about a wider war? Who would come to Iran's aid?
I don't think so much. China, they think about the economic progress and their relationship and their investment in the Middle East. I don't think they are so much interested to escalating in this or this war. Just be in entire Middle East. They are not interested. So China wants very fast, maybe negotiation, something peace. Russia is a little different. Russia is maybe supporting Iran, but it's more politically and then statement. I don't think they want to involve military, send soldiers or send weapons. Until today, we didn't see any sign for that. But I know the Iranian Minister of Foreign Affairs has been in Moscow to Russia talking with Putin. asking for support. But it's also it's very for Putin. It's difficult to get involved in the war with Iran, supporting Iran, because it's like if he does, it's like starting war with NATO, because Iran is attacking U.S. Base in the U.S. It's U.S. base in Middle East, and then just I don't think Russia is interested. So there is nothing. So Iran, Islamic Republic is alone, and I estimate I think they cannot survive. We don't know how many days, weeks, months. We don't know, but we hope it be as soon as possible, because people of Iran are like hostages.
No.
They don't want. They feel. So my sister in Iran, she said to me, "We are hostage. We are hostage in our country." They don't want this war. They don't want any hostility with any country. But it's Khamenei that has started, and he didn't want to accept what President Trump asked Islamic Republic for dealing. So that's the tragedy. That's right now we are in the middle of a war. Yeah.
And to be clear, I mean, the Iranian people, they're happy that the United States struck these uranium sites?
Oh, actually, Iranian people are divided. Some people, actually, first, they are very scared, and there's no lack of food and so many medicine. So some people are thinking about their survival and then getting enough food. But at the same time, they hope it ends to the Islamic Republic. Mm-hmm. So that's and then of course they don't want to buildings and bridges and some other places will be destroyed. It is their country, of course. Nobody likes war, but they just want to end as soon as possible. I think as a human, everywhere on the planet Earth, it is think about it's not nice to live during a war. There is nothing, and there's no electricity. Some places, no water, no medicine, and then it's not safe to go out. Everything is closed. Everything, if we can, in Tehran, they live in other small cities and villages. So that is right now is a crisis. Nothing is functioning.
Yeah, Fariba Parsa, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us in this. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Just so many things that we probably don't even think about. You know, you think, oh, uranium, and you forget probably that there are bridges and other things that have been hit in that process and what it does to the people living there, even though, no one was hurt in that. It is 4:35. We need to get a check of traffic with Captain Paul. I'm betting traffic's going to get a little thick tonight.
You're right, Heidi. There's a crash on eastbound 364 at 141. An accident on southbound 270 at Doherty Ferry is causing a stop and go back up to 64. There's a crash on southbound 270 at Ladue Road with an estimated clearance time of 5:10. They've cleared a crash on westbound 64 at Prospect, but there's a residual slowdown back to Route N. Drive time from 64 and Winghaven to the 6470 interchange is 13 minutes. Westbound 64 is running slow from Kings Highway to Hampton, and southbound 55 is busy from Gasconade to South Broadway. This traffic report is brought to you by Fielder Electric. See what everyone is saying about the pros at Fielder Electric. Whether it's a new build or a 100-year-old home, Fielder Electric has you covered. From the KTRS Traffic Center, I'm Captain Paul Kopsky on the Big 550 KTRS.
KTRS Sports Director Brendan Weesey is in the studio. The Cubs come to town tonight. And one Cardinals pitcher wants the fans to help out. Did you see the article in the Post where
Did not.
Michaelis is saying, boo them all you want?
Yeah.
We need your help.
Go for it, right? I mean, the Cubs have been very good.
They're really good.
Not quite the hottest team in the division. That's probably Milwaukee. But the Cubs, especially in that ballpark, at least for a few days, they come down here and play at Busch.
They really slug.
They up and down the lineup.
You make a mistake, it's going to leave the park.
Kyle Tucker and Pete Crow Armstrong have both put up MVP caliber numbers. Like there's the Shohei Ohtani division, which is basically Shohei Ohtani,
I was gonna say
and
his
then
own.
the rest of
The normal people.
the normal
The regulars.
division of MVP contenders, I think they call them PCA, Pete Crow Armstrong and Kyle Tucker. But really up and down, they hit Seiya Suzuki. I think hit
He's
his
very
20th home run yesterday, and that was a guy that they could never quite get more than. You wonder if he was just a platoon guy. Not this year for the Cubbies. He's been deadly.
And Ian Happ is a career Cardinal hitter,
Yes,
killer.
he is.
They and I don't mean this to be ugly, but just kind of an observation. They sort of picked up Carson Kelly off the scrap heap, and he has been a monster.
He has had a tremendous year.
He's cooling off.
And that's kind of his MO. It would not be his first season where he gets off to just a ridiculous start and then just comes back down to earth as the season goes on. But heck, when you get that kind of production out of your catcher, consider it a bonus, and I don't think they were even expecting that kind.
I don't even know if they thought he would be the main starter.
Exactly right. But
they're good.
Should be a very telling season for a series for the Cardinals. After you lose yesterday, but you were looking for back-to-back sweeps, and you certainly did the job against the team you should have beaten in Chicago, and then a Reds team that you kind of figure you're on the same level with.
Yeah.
And you take 2 or 3 at home in a very, very hot weekend.
To just go back to the Cubs for 1 second, I did see that former Cub turned Cardinal Wilson Contreras told the PR team he did not want to do media interviews.
With the Chicago folks.
Yeah, it's interesting, but I guess that happens. It's one of those things pulling the curtain behind the.
Well, because you kind of know how we in the media kind of try and create some questions to get some commentary that'll be good on a headline, and I don't blame him for not wanting to do that.
Right, Wilson's pretty transparent, a very honest guy. It wouldn't take much for him to say something. They take it out of context, and the Cubbies have bulletin board material for the week. Good call by Wilson.
And he doesn't hate the Cubs.
No,
he
certainly
won a ring
not.
with them.
Yeah,
absolutely right. And he left as
Less
a free
is
agent.
more.
Yeah, without question. So. Hopefully he's healthy. The guys are ready to roll tonight. Should be a fun series. Kind of hard to believe they're playing for the first time this year here on
that is
June
crazy.
the 23rd.
It's going to be a warm one.
Tons of heartbreak and insanity over the weekend. All on Sunday. Let me start with the College World Series. And the Coastal Carolina coach getting thrown out in the first inning. That was ridiculous.
I don't know how you justify a call like that, and when we see these umpires and referees in all sports, but umpires for whatever reason in baseball, they've got a very thin skin.
I was going to say a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah, it doesn't take much to set them off and cause an ejection for whatever reason. In fact, I think it was. I don't think it was Carson Kelly. Whoever started for the Cubbies yesterday was talking with the umpire after a bad call and took his mask off. They weren't face to face and got tossed. It happens far too often.
In the College World Series, the Kevin is it Schnall, the Coastal Carolina coach, he came out of the dugout and he was showing up the ump. There's no doubt about it. He was very animated, and he should know better than that. Having said all that, the umpire needs to understand, that particular umpire, conflict resolution, not just throw the guy out and make things worse. And then the other ump took a flop on purpose
Yeah, I saw that.
It was just, it was a complete, to say they had contact.
The umps are taking flops now.
Yeah, it was. And so again, I don't want to be burying all umpires. It was this particular guy and this particular crew that got out of control. You got to talk to that, and because let's be honest, it's in the rules. You can't argue balls and strikes.
Yeah,
which is what he was doing. And he did show up, the ump, in my opinion, when he put up the three fingers for you missed 3 calls. But the ump's got to de-escalate that.
You said it. You said the word. It's a word we use a lot these days. De-escalation is a very important part. And for a game like that, you do need a little more, I don't know if understanding is the right word, but certainly restraint. You pull the trigger and that's it. And you can't take that decision back. And that's it was a tough look.
Well, and everybody, there's a lot of emotions going on. It's the
Trying to
World
win a
Series.
championship.
Yes, you're doing
Absolutely
everything
right.
you can. So there's a lot that goes into this kind of game.
I also have for you, mainly because I'm a fan, the heartbreak of Tommy Fleetwood.
Oh,
I did
Tommy lad.
What I was watching, and I don't know why I love the guy. Maybe he's just really fun to watch. He makes shots. He's really good, top 20 player. Never won a tournament. It looked like this might be the deal. But before Keegan made the putt, right before he made that 35-foot putt on 15, I said out loud, if he makes this putt, he's going to win.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened.
He, on 18, the 72nd hole for Tommy Fleetwood, who walks up with a one-shot lead. Now it's a group of 3, so you got Keegan Bradley, who's a shot back, and then Russell Henley, who's 2 back.
Who chipped that one in.
Chips in for
Crazy.
birdie to post 14. And so you think for a second there was this outside shot that you're going to get a 3-way playoff.
been fantastic.
Absolute insanity. But Keegan on the approach, because he had to go over the bunker, so it was a high precision type of shot to where if he's off a little bit, he's in the bunker, and then suddenly he's basically out of the mix. For Tommy, who is in the fairway and just needs par to at worst the playoff. He changed clubs multiple times in the fairway.
He went from 8 to a 9 and came up short.
And then comes up short with his 3rd shot just off the green. And because at that point, okay, you're off the green, but you weren't in that bad of a spot. That was a shot he should have gotten within 5. Somehow he's outside of Keegan's putt, and then suddenly you just knew it with Fleetwood. He's lived this so many times. He's won on the European Tour many times, has not won in the States yet.
And what's coming up tonight?
We've got a lot of talk about the soccer match coming up on Wednesday. City and Orlando. We'll get a view from Orlando. Also visit with the gentleman that'll be on the call for MLS Season Pass on Wednesday night. He'll be with me tonight, 7 until 9, right after Frank and the Slickster from 6 until 7.
Very good.
All right, we will be listening. Right now we got to get a check of traffic with Captain Paul.
Okay, thank you, Heidi. It's been an accident-filled afternoon. They have just cleared an accident, though, on eastbound 70 at 94. There's a crash on eastbound 64 at Clayton Road, blocking the right center lane with traffic backed up to Lindbergh. There's a crash on southbound 270 at Ladue Road with a stop-and-go back up to Page. Estimated clearance time there is 5:10. A stalled vehicle is blocking the left lane of eastbound 64 at 6th Street with traffic backed up to Jefferson. Westbound 64 is running slow from Kings Highway to Hampton and from 364 to the 64 interchange. And southbound 55 is busy from Gasconade to South Broadway. This traffic report is brought to you by Pink Zebra Moving Company. Located in Chesterfield, Pink Zebra Moving is more than a moving company. They make moving stress-free and fun. Visit them at pinkzebramoving.com. From the KTRS Traffic Center, I'm Captain Paul Kopsky on the Big 550 KTRS.
as you might imagine, the strikes on Iran have kind of split people down the middle, both here in the States and abroad. Steve Roberts, ABC News political analyst in Washington, joins us with his thoughts. What do you see in this? Can you break it down for us?
Well, Heidi, let's remember how Donald Trump ran for president. He said repeatedly he would not do what his Republican predecessor, George Bush, did. He would not meddle in the Middle East. He branded Bush's crusades in Iraq and Afghanistan major mistakes. Said America first. We're going to stay here at home. We're not going to get involved in foreign wars. And now he's bombing Iraq and bombing Iran. So the problem here is he promised one thing and he's doing another. Now, are most loyal MAGA faithful willing to give Trump the benefit of the doubt? The answer is yes. But there are a lot of unanswered questions. There was a missile attack on an American base in Qatar earlier today. Fortunately, the missiles were intercepted. No one was hurt. But the threats are out there of escalation, and no one knows quite how this is going to work out. And there are a lot of Republicans who are saying, I have confidence in Donald Trump, but wondering whether he's thought about the long-term consequences. It's one thing to bomb Iran. It's another to think 2 and 3 and 4 steps ahead. Donald Trump has never been a strategic thinker. He's always been reactive, and he's been very shrewd and very effective and very clever. But there's a lot of anxiety, both here and around the world, about what the long-term consequences of this attack could mean.
Steve, how does his position sort of rank historically? Because he's the one that acted, but we've had president after president suggest, oh, no, Iran can't have a nuclear weapon yet. So where does it all kind of fit?
Well, look, that's a fair point. You're absolutely right in saying that all previous presidents from both parties have agreed, and this is a conviction shared by our allies around the world, that Iran could never be allowed to develop a nuclear weapon. That would be so highly dangerous and destabilizing. But a whole series of presidents and from both parties have said, that, including Donald Trump in his first term, has said the way to make sure is through negotiations and through international sanctions and agreements. And what's changed, it would appear, is Trump saying, I'm now convinced, and I think he's been urged to this position by Israel. He's now saying Iran is not serious about negotiating, and Iran is serious about developing a bomb, and therefore we have to move militarily. Something, as I say, he promised he would not do. But you're right in saying that Trump is operating from a very different set of convictions. And a belief that negotiations have not been effective in achieving that goal that everybody wants.
Hey, Steve, are there any Democrats that are not necessarily backing the president, but backing the move? And as far as NATO goes, what's their response been in the other NATO countries?
Well, those are good questions. The Democrats, as the out party, always focuses on, well, you didn't tell us what you were doing. You didn't consult with Congress. I've covered this city for a long time, and every single time a president acts in a situation like this, the other party complains they haven't been consulted. And
Right.
So, this is an old song. But look, I think the Democrats, like everybody else, are holding their breath because, you can say Trump has acted boldly and Trump has achieved something that others have not achieved. But what we don't know are the aftershocks. What we don't know what's going to happen, for instance, to international oil prices. Iran has the ability to close off the Straits of Hormuz. This is a very narrow passageway. It's 21 miles wide, that's all. And 25% of the world's oil comes through that passageway. Most of it goes to Asia, not to the West. But Iran has very well-developed terrorist cells around the world. They have the ability to attack, mount cyber attacks. I think the missile attacks on the American base today were purely performative. They were not meant to harm anybody. They were meant to save face. So that's encouraging. And maybe Trump, his gamble will pay off. Maybe he will now bring Iran to the negotiating table. Maybe his bold move will succeed.
Yeah.
But we don't know that yet.
We'll wait and see. Steve Roberts, ABC News political analyst there in Washington. Thank you so much for your insight.
Anytime, honey.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. President Trump says there were no deaths and minimal impact to the U.S. base in Qatar after Iran launched missiles today in response to the U.S. missile strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities this weekend. The president thanked Iran for sending early word through Qatar that they were launching those missiles and says he hopes this marks the end, saying it's time for peace. Iran, though, still says it will not surrender and vows to move ahead with its nuclear program. ABC's James Longman is in Iraq, where other U.S. troops remain on high alert. He says Israeli strikes have cobbled Iran's nuclear and military capabilities over the past few months, and along with its allies.
This time round, though, they have fewer proxies at their disposal. Yes, there are still militias in Iraq that still function broadly in the way that they have been before the Hamas attack on October 7th, but other proxies really have been degraded. If you just look at Syria, which sits between the two countries, of course, Bashar al-Assad, really a key ally of the Iranian regime.
President Trump facing criticism from Democrats and a small number of Republicans who say he did not brief top congressional leaders from both parties before the U.S. took military action. House Leader Hakeem Jeffries called it a violation of the Constitution.
That Gang of Eight briefing has not taken place. So the question is, why not? What is the administration hiding?
House Speaker Mike Johnson supported the president's use of power. Searing triple-digit temperatures taxing millions of Americans across the country. The Northeast could break records this week. ABC's Kevin Roth has more.
It's actually hotter in New York for the next couple of days than in Houston. And that's telling you something, right? That heat-humidity combo that you're used to in the South along the Gulf Coast, that's streaming all the way up into the 95 corridor. And it is not just typical summertime heat. This is extreme heat. This is record-breaking heat. And this is dangerous heat as well.
On Wall Street, stocks rallied today as oil prices stabilized. You're listening to ABC News.
This is KTRS News. I'm Sobe Bay. Dangerous high temperatures has an extreme heat warning in effect until 9 Tuesday night. Anyone in need of a cooling shelter should call the United Way at 211. Missouri Governor Mike Kehoe has announced his appointments to the newly reestablished Board of Police Commissioners for the city of St. Louis. The appointment includes 2 restaurateurs, a businessman, and a controversial former public official. St. Louis Mayor Kara Spencer rounds out the voting members of the commission, which was reestablished by the Missouri legislature earlier this year. The governor's appointments include Brad Arteaga, a commercial photographer and president of Arteaga Photos, Sonia Jenkins Gray, a former director of personnel for the city of St. Louis. She was fired March 13th after Mayor Tashara Jones accused her of using a city vehicle for personal trips. Eddie McVeigh, the owner of several area restaurants, including Maggie O'Brien's in downtown West. Don Brown, a non-voting member and a second-generation owner of a family-run car dealership. Derek Winters, transition director, previously announced on June 13th. Winters is a St. Louis native and currently serves as chief operating officer at No Inc., an election technology company. Air Force bombers from Missouri took a central role in this weekend's attack on Iran. U.S. defense officials say a group of B-2 stealth bombers took off from Whiteman Air Force Base near Kansas City and headed towards the Pacific Ocean as a diversion, while 7 other B-2 bombers from Whiteman headed east towards Iran. The aircraft dropped bunker-busting bombs on 3 of Iran's nuclear facilities as part of Operation Midnight Hammer before returning safely to Missouri yesterday. Meantime, lawmakers from Missouri are reacting to President Trump's decision to bomb nuclear sites in Iran. The story from KTRS's Jill Enders.
Congressman Wesley Bell released a statement which reads in part, quote, "Launching airstrikes without consulting Congress, without a clear strategy, and without providing transparency to the American people is not an acceptable path forward. I am also extremely worried that the massive risk of escalation will further put our service members at risk," end quote. Meanwhile, Congresswoman Ann Wagner expressed her support for the president's actions, saying, quote, "Iran was given every chance to get rid of its nuclear program, but instead of choosing peace, the Ayatollah embraced violence and chaos," end quote. Meanwhile, demonstrations were held in St. Louis yesterday in response to the bombings in Iran. Protesters gathered at Keener Plaza where they marched to the Gateway Arch. Their message was, money for people's needs, not war on Iran. Jill Enders, KTRS News.
Chesterfield-based St. Luke's Hospital Network announced today that it's closing its DePere Hospital on August 1st. The hospital network states in a press release that the closure was a difficult decision, resulting from increasing financial pressure and persistently low utilization of DePere Hospital. The Nordstrom department store inside the St. Louis Galleria is closing this summer. A Nordstrom spokesperson explained that the decision is part of a bigger plan to focus more on digital operations and stores closer to their headquarters in Seattle. Nordstrom also operates 2 Nordstrom Rack stores, one in Brentwood, another in Manchester. The store in the Galleria in Richmond Heights opened in 2011 and will close its doors for good on August 24th. St. Louis seniors have more time to apply for the Senior Property Tax Freeze program. The deadline was June 30th, but now has been extended to July 31st because of the May 16th tornado. The freeze only applies to residential real estate and does not apply to vehicles or other personal property. Eligible seniors may apply online at stlewis-mo.gov. August 13th is a great day to visit the Missouri State Fair for Senior Appreciation Day. KTRS's Jim Fairchild has more on the special activities.
It's Senior Day, so of course they will have bingo, also live music by the County Liners, line dancing lessons, square dancing, and a dance contest. Look for senior appreciation discounts at select concessions and vendors, and a special lunch brunch will be held. Get a complete schedule at the Missouri State Fair website. Jim Fairchild, KTRS News.
This KTRS Business Minutes is brought to you by Walter Knoll Florist, the place for all your floral needs. Place your order anytime at WKF.com. Wall Street at the close today. Dow Jones up 375 points at 42,581. S&P 500 up 57 points to close at 6,025. And the NASDAQ was up 183 points to close at 19,630. Time now to check sports and traffic with Captain Paul Kopsky.
Okay, thanks, Sobe. The Cards failed to complete a sweep of the Reds, but will need to turn their attention to the first-place Cubs in town for 4 beginning tonight. Matthew Liberatore gets the ball in Game 1. And St. Louis City SC returns to action Wednesday against Orlando after an idle week for the MLS. City SC has 1 win, 1 loss, and 1 draw since David Critchley took over as caretaker coach. I'm Paul Kopsky from the Royal Banks of Missouri Sports Desk, and now on to traffic. A crash on eastbound 64 at Clayton Road is blocking the 2 right lanes with traffic backed up to Spady. There's a crash on southbound 270 at Ladue Road with a stop-and-go backup to Page. A stalled vehicle is blocking the left lane of eastbound 64 at 6th Street with traffic backed up to Compton. Westbound 64 is running slow from Kings Highway to Hampton and from 364 to the 6470 interchange, and southbound 55 is busy from Gasconade to South Broadway. This traffic report is brought to you by Club Fitness. Club Fitness is the premier health club in St. Louis. With 24-hour access at all of their 19 locations and endless amenities, you will see what everyone has been talking about. Sign up today at any location or online at clubfitness.us. From the KTRS Traffic Center, I'm Captain Paul Kopsky on the Big 550 KTRS.
Thank you, Captain Paul. KTRS weather. An extreme heat warning remains in effect until 9 tomorrow night. Tonight, partly cloudy with an overnight low of 77. Tomorrow, partly cloudy with a chance of spot storms, high of 94. Right now, humid with sunny skies, 96 degrees, and a heat index of 105. The time is 5:09. I'm Sobe Bay, KTRS News, the talk of St. Louis.
Several members of Congress in both parties have questioned the legality of President Trump's move to launch military strikes on Iran. So we invited our KTRS legal analyst and SLU constitutional law professor to the studio to discuss. And I got to tell you, yesterday morning, we're in the RV and we're watching CBS Sunday Morning. And she goes, you know who you need to talk to about this? I said, I sure do. And guess what? We're going to call him tomorrow.
I thought the same thing as I was watching the news.
Of course, we're talking about Mr. Greg Willard. It's so good to see you.
Good to be with all of you on a Monday afternoon.
So does the president need the approval of Congress for this sort of thing?
No. I know that's going to upset probably a lot of folks on certainly the left side of the aisle and maybe some of the MAGA folks. But I think the better the better reading of the Constitution, Heidi, is to launch this attack, he does not need prior congressional approval. Now, we can put a semicolon and a footnote on that, and the argument against that goes like this. In the Constitution, one branch and one branch alone has the power to declare war. That's Congress, period, full stop. So the War of 1812, the Spanish-American War, World War I, World War II. In each of those wars, Congress declared war pursuant to their power, and then the presidents acted upon that declaration of war. What some are arguing is that this is no different, in that an attack by the United States on a sovereign nation, that is the equivalent of war. They point, for example, to the USS Maine. There's a phrase in the history books, remember the Maine. Well, we had a warship that was sunk in Havana Harbor by Spain. That was viewed as an act of war, and we went to war. I think, though, in 2025, the better analysis would conclude that the president had the constitutional authority to order the B-2 bombers from across the state in Whiteman Air Force Base to drop the 2 targets with the bunker buster bombs, and then to order that submarine somewhere off the shores of Iran, fire probably several dozen Tomahawk missiles. The orders from the commander-in-chief, in my judgment, were and are constitutional.
So, and we talked just briefly before we came on the air, how does what some folks in Congress and in America want, do they remember Korea and Vietnam and the Gulf War, which is not technically correct, or maybe they do remember and say, we don't want any more of that. And can they go after presidential powers knowing that as a motivation?
You just articulated the third slide of the first day of every semester in my law school course.
Right.
Can I get a grade on this?
But no kidding. I put up a slide and I list the declared wars, and then I put up a slide since Korea, and there are about 8. And I asked the class rhetorically, any difference in the loss of treasure or lives in these wars? They facetiously walk, talk, and quack like wars. But since President Truman and Korea, we have gone to war, figuratively, on the blue ink signature of one person. That concept, as I said a moment ago, is at odds with the Constitution, which says only Congress can declare war and empower the president to do that. I think where the opponents, Bob, fall out is not in this constitutional provision of declaring war and the like, but I think where they fall out is Congress has a very powerful check, as we learned in 4th grade civics, checks and balances. They have a very powerful check on the commander-in-chief's so-called war power, and that is the power of the purse and the power to put limitations on the armaments that the Congress authorizes and has built. So I think to those of our listeners who are angry at this, what they would believe, extra constitutional act by President Trump, I would simply say to them, turn the clock back 80 years. Click, click, click. Every year, Congress has appropriated, and the aggregate, trillions of dollars in weapons and weapon systems and armaments, and presidents have used them. And what have we heard back from Congress in terms of pulling back on those armaments and weapons? Crickets.
Mm-hmm. Any chance that this administration, or what's it like in previous administrations where they say, we're going to do this, and someone speaks up and says, well, what do you think Congress is going to say? Or a lawyer comes in and says, well, you can't technically do that. You know, did Trump listen to any lawyers or consult anyone to see if he could do this?
Oh, I think very clearly he did. And I would direct our listeners to both the president's statements, I guess it was Saturday night, and Secretary of Defense and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs yesterday morning. They were absolutely clear and said so that this is not an attack on Iran. Mm-hmm. This is an attack on these 3 alleged nuclear sites. I think you could connect a very straight line, Josh, to those words by those 3 leaders to the point you were just making, in that by characterizing it not as an attack on a foreign sovereign, but on this nuclear weapons set of sites, that moves it away from this argument that, well, wait a minute, the president just declared war and that's unconstitutional and da-da-da-da-da. Where I think all of that leaves us in 2025 is there are, practically speaking, as distinguished from constitutionally, practically speaking, there are 2 checks on this war power we've seen since Harry Truman. One is the one we just talked about, Congress's power of the purse. Gerald Ford saw that front and center in 1975 as the Vietnam War wound down. And the second is the political check. Neither of those is immediate. Neither of those is preventative. But they will, I think, have an effect, to the phrase you just used a moment ago, Josh, in terms of, did the president check with or consult with? Well, yeah, he probably did. A variety of people. Reporting is that he did not consult with the so-called Gang of 8 on Capitol Hill, consulted perhaps with a Gang of 4, if we could use that phrase, but not the Gang of 8. And we were talking off the air beforehand, the notion in 2025 that the president, even going ahead unilaterally and launching these 3 attacks, that he would, before he did that, consult with the 535 members of the House and Senate. Well, that's goofy beyond
it's unworkable.
Measure. Well, as Larry the Cable Guy would say, that ain't right.
Now, maybe it's constitutional. Could he still be impeached?
Well, I will quote my former boss, Gerald Ford, as then Congressman Jerry Ford, who famously said in 1973, with respect to Supreme Court Justice William Douglas at the time, an impeachable offense is whatever a majority of the United States House of Representatives at any moment in history says it is. So could a president be impeached for a unilateral use of military force, whether it's President Trump, President Reagan, President Clinton, when he bombed the pharmaceutical company in Africa? Sure, they could be impeached. What history has taught us the last 30 years since the Clinton impeachment is the constitutional mechanism of impeachment and conviction and removal in the Senate, Heidi, is probably one step short of graveyard dead. Mm-hmm. What has been put in its place is political theater, political spectacle that we call impeachment. And we saw it with Clinton. We saw it twice with Trump. Sadly, I think we'll probably see it again. I don't think there is a chance up there with the sun rising in the west tomorrow morning. I don't think there's a chance that there will be articles of impeachment brought forward and get any traction as to this attack in Iran. But I just want to leave the point with our listeners that impeachment, as we old folks learned in civics class, is over. It is gone. And what we have now is this mechanism that both parties used. The Republicans used it against Clinton. The Democrats did it twice against Trump. It is political theater, political spectacle, and that is not what the framers of the Constitution had in mind 236 years ago.
Very interesting.
I know we're running out of time, but and I apologize if this is way too cynical. Call me on it if it is. But it's one of the reasons that Congress has not tried to put the brakes on a president. I'm going all the way back to 1950. Of all the conflicts we've talked about, is it because of influence, outside influence, meaning war makes money? Is that too cynical?
Yeah, I think no, it's not completely cynical, or you're not going to get the Goofy Award today. But I think what we've seen is that Congress after Congress, whether it's in war making or what my colloquy with Heidi just now on impeachment, is that the men and women in the House and Senate have allowed their constitutional duties to give way to their political necessities as they see them. Yeah. And again, it's both sides of the aisle have done it, Bob.
Definitely.
But in that, when a Democrat president takes a unilateral commander-in-chief action, like Clinton did in Africa and Obama did, you hear this uprising from the Republicans, and the Democrats are, yay, go, go, go. Well, now the shoe's on the other foot, and we're hearing crickets from the Republicans,
right,
and criticism from some Democrats. So your comment is not 100% cynical, but the cynical part and the sad part is that we don't have people like Senator Fulbright in the 60s, Senator Vandenberg back in World War II, that we don't have these not bipartisan, they are apolitical leaders who literally cast off their political shackles and say, doggone it, this is right, that is wrong, and I'm going to advocate the former and condemn the latter. That's missing from the public square. I hope we get it back. Yep. I fear we may not.
Yeah. Well, it is always such a pleasure talking to you, and I always feel a little smarter after I've been here in this studio with you, Mr. Greg Wheeler. Thank you so much.
Great to be with the three of you. Stay safe.
5:30, and it was getting rather busy last time we talked. Captain Paul, what are you seeing now?
Well, Heidi, after a flurry of crashes this afternoon, we are crash-free, but a stalled vehicle is blocking the right lane of westbound 64 at the Boone Bridge. That's causing a stop-and-go back up to Boone's Crossing. Southbound 270 is heavy, stop-and-go at times from Olive to Ladue Road. Westbound 64 is running slow from Kings Highway to Hampton, and southbound 55 is busy around South Broadway. This traffic report is brought to you by Dents Express. If the recent storms have you saying, oh, hail, bring your car, truck, SUV, or van to Dents Express for a free hail damage repair evaluation. Dents Express will have your ride looking like new again, and they'll even take care of the insurance paperwork. That's Dents Express at dentsexpressstl.com. From the KTRS Traffic Center, I'm Captain Paul Kopsky on the Big 550 KTRS.
Well, now that the sun is out and it's kind of stopped raining, maybe you can get out in your yard and look up and see if you have any issues with your siding or your roofing. Dalco Home Remodeling can help you with both of that. The other thing they can do is a brand new front door, and that will really make your house stand out or pop. They can do front doors, sliding doors, French doors, you name it, and they can be custom painted or stained to match whatever you have going on, or do something completely different. Dalco also specializes in windows, and they can also redo your entire bathroom. You want to feel like you're at a spa every morning when you wake up? Dalco Home Remodeling can do just that. So give Dalco a call, 314-648-8113, or find them online, dalcohomeremodeling.com. It looks like the Las Vegas A's are breaking ground on a new stadium. It'll be ready for the 2028 Major League Baseball season. Alex Stone, ABC News correspondent in L.A., joins us with this story. And, Alex, we were all in here kind of saying we didn't even know this was a done deal, that they were going to be Las Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, they're out of Oakland now. They're in Sacramento temporarily, and there's been a lot of anger about that because they won't call themselves the Sacramento A's, and they really don't give a nod to where they are in Sacramento. It's like, hey, look, you came to our town. They're playing at the River Cat Stadium, a minor league stadium, which is fairly small. But they're like, you're here for 3 or 4 years. You might as well call yourself the Sacramento A's while you're here, or come up with something to let people know where you are. But it's been a long time coming that they tried to figure out their next move in Oakland. All of the stadium deals in and around Oakland and nearby in Fremont and in Sunnyvale, all that fell through. So they said they were going to go to Vegas even before all the deal was done. And they went through a lot of design concepts on a stadium in Vegas. The first one, to save money, had no roof on it. Can you imagine in Vegas?
Oh, no thanks.
During the baseball season with no roof at 120 degrees, like the plastic seats would melt. And then they had to come back and put a roof on it, and it's going to cost a lot more with the roof and with air conditioning and everything else. But state lawmakers, they got called back by the governor for a special session to okay the funding for a new stadium for the part that the state's going to pay for. And today, with a countdown, golden shovels in the ground with the A's owners and political leaders and MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred, they had green helmets on for the A's, and they broke ground, putting it into the dirt.
3, 2, 1.
And so the ceremonies were led today by youth baseball and softball players and Special Olympics children welcoming the A's to Vegas, saying that they are the future of what this team is going to be as they move into Vegas. Rob Manfred saying today,
Las Vegas has proven itself to be a great sports town and a great host to professional franchises. All of us at Major League Baseball, all the owners, are excited to be adding Major League Baseball to the entertainment alternatives that are available here in Southern Nevada.
Now, only in Vegas do you bring a Major League Baseball team in, and they are the entertainment alternative.
It's so
like
true.
If you don't have something else to do, you can go watch the A's play. So the stadium is going to sit where the Tropicana was before it was imploded a couple of months ago. And the plan right now is a climate-controlled, covered stadium. It kind of looks like the Sydney Opera House from the outside, where the outfield wall of glass, as you go beyond the outfield and the stands that will be out there, will be a wall of glass that looks out over the Vegas Strip with the MGM Grand right there.
Oh, my.
That's pretty cool.
So, yeah, it's going to look pretty cool. Up to $380 million is coming from the state and from public funding. The rest is to get to the $1.5, $1.7 billion. Will be from the A's and from bank loans, and they think it's going to be pretty amazing. Nevada Governor Joe Lombardo saying it's time to get going like today.
I anticipate that the pile drivers behind me are going to be hitting the ground sometime this evening, and in 2028, we're going to be throwing a pitch across that plate.
Yeah, it's only going to hold 33,000 people, though, so it will be relatively small. But there's a lot of other things going on in Vegas, and they don't have a ton of land right there. So the plan is that they will be in 2028. We'll see. You know, SoFi Stadium in L.A. was done earlier than they expected. A lot of them get done way later than they expected. So they're shooting right now for 2028. But there's been a lot of anger, not only in Oakland for leaving the city for so many years, that they had been in for so many years, but in Sacramento as well, where they're not getting acknowledged that the team's even there. But the team is really focusing in on being the Las Vegas A's, and in, like 3 years, if everything goes according to plan, they'll be there.
So I wonder, right now, they're just the Athletics. I wonder now
they've gotten rid of all city location whatsoever. They're just the Athletics.
At what point, maybe next season, 2 seasons, or maybe until they move in, will they start saying Las Vegas Athletics playing in Sacramento? But you are in LA now. You're from Northern California. Do you feel a little sadness?
Well, I do, because I grew up in an A's family. We used to go almost every Friday and Saturday to the games. I'd go down with my dad. We'd spend the night at the Airport Hilton, which is just down the street from the Oakland Coliseum, and then go. And we would always, that's the hotel that all the players would stay at from the visiting team. So you'd go to the breakfast in the morning, and all the players would always be sitting there eating breakfast. And it was the coolest thing, going in and, you know, seeing the Yankees and just seeing everybody sitting there eating, and as a 9-year-old boy in their element. And then we would go to the Saturday day game and then drive home about an hour north. And so, yeah, I was the Bash Brothers era of 9 years old was Jose Canseco and Mark McGuire and Ricky Henderson and Dave Henderson and, you know, just Dennis Eckersley. So to see them go, it is sad. They were a big part of the East Bay. Like, you either grew up as a Giants fan or an A's fan. You couldn't be both. And a lot of people were diehard Giants fans, and then you had the, you know, a little more rough and tumble A's fans that were like, no, we're not the uptight Giants fans over there in San Francisco, and the highbrow Giants fans. That it's sad to see them go, and it's also sad to kind of see the Sacramento, which so badly wants a major league team, not really getting embraced in the way that they were hoping to, that Major League Baseball might look at them and say, hey, you know, an expansion team or moving a team, that it would be Sacramento. But right now they're not getting a lot of notoriety for it.
And, you know, Alex, I go back to the swinging A's. You mentioned the Bash Brothers. Then there's the Moneyball Athletics. Yeah. The problem is, after the Bash Brothers, financially, it was very, very difficult for the Athletics to compete. And I wonder if that is a concern 3 years from now. How are they going to compete in Vegas? What's going to be the difference? And that's going to be something to watch, kind of looking to the horizon.
Yeah, and I think the ownership gets a lot of that blame, at least publicly they do, that they weren't willing to spend money. You know, it and the Rockies right now, the same thing, where you look and you go, it's almost like real life, the movie Major League. Remember where they wanted them to lose so they could move the team?
Yes.
It almost felt like in Oakland that was kind of the deal, where it was an old stadium, it was a giant piece of concrete, and they had to figure something out. But there were periods where in that stadium, and I think the Oakland Coliseum can hold like 70,000 people, where there would be almost nobody there.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like a person here, a person over there. I mean, it really turned into what were the Indians in Major League, where, I mean, one of the great movies of all time, but it kind of became the real life. Not that the Rockies are looking at going anywhere, but a team not willing to spend money for whatever that motivation was. The A's a little closer to what the Indians were doing in Major League, but where you have an owner that just isn't willing to spend, and if you're not willing to spend, look at the players that you get, and the teams don't do well.
Do you still root for them?
for the A's.
Mhm.
I'm more of a Rockies fan now because of my
Oh.
time in Colorado. But yeah, I mean, and now I'll vote. I'll root for the,
Wait,
the Giants as well,
Alex.
just not the Dodgers.
You need to pick a better
Pick a
team.
winner.
Yeah. Wait.
I just have no love for the Dodgers, so it's all right.
All right. Alex, thank you, sir.
You got it. Bye, guys.
We got to talk a little entertainment. We've been pretty serious today. So 38 years ago, in 1987, Tiffany became her famous shopping mall tour. Remember that? And how they did that for a little bit? Like Tiffany and Debbie Gibson, and I think a couple of the boy bands stopped by the malls. Kind of crazy.
What was her song?
I Think You're Alone Now. I think We're Alone Now, which is a remake, but she had a couple.
Okay.
I mean...
Deborah Gibson.
She's still singing.
Yeah. She's on Broadway.
Jazz.
Yeah.
A little bit.
What did Tiffany ever do?
I think she still is kind of dabbling in it as well.
I made a couple of bucks.
Okay.
Brad Pitt talked with armchair expert host Dax Shepard about when he attended his first AA meeting, and Brad recalled being pretty much on his knees and needing to wake the blank up in some areas. He said he was trying anything and everything, anyone threw at him. He said it was a difficult time. I needed rebooting. He didn't say when the Alcoholics Anonymous meeting took place, but he previously had told the New York Times that he went for a year and a half following his 2016 divorce from Angelina Jolie.
Oh, that's pretty recent.
Yeah. Dax praised him for being so honest at the time, and then Brad returned the favor, saying, that witnessing Dax Shepard's own honesty meant a lot to him because he has been really honest.
He sure has.
Speaking of being honest, Alanis Morissette was just 21 when her Jagged Little Pill album came out and made her a star.
Amazing.
She said it was a really rough time. There was no one to hide behind. She said, I have an anxious, depressive tendency, and those who are sensitive are much more susceptible to their environmental information. She said if you put a highly sensitive person in an environment where they're browbeaten or reduced, they'll basically want to take their own life. She said it's the worst. So she said she spent the next 25 years faking being an extrovert. She said tequila, anything that allowed me to be the life of the party, or if she was doing some kind of talk, it was Xanax, anything that would help me pretend I'm not me. This is how we all judge. We're watching all of this thinking she's, on cloud nine and hitting all of the right notes, and nope, she could not actually handle it.
That's really a shame. Sorry to hear that, but glad she's dealing with it.
And doing better.
That's a great album.
It is a great album. Morgan Wallen, like him or not, I think this is pretty brilliant. Kicked off his I'm the Problem tour in style. I don't know if you guys read this or not. He doused the stage in fake lighter fluid, while then all the headlines from his past scandals flashed on the screen. So basically, he held up a lighter and pretended to light all of those headlines burn.
Burn them up.
Which, pretty funny.
Did he throw any chairs?
I think that was one of the headlines.
One of the headlines?
Yeah. He, by the way, now has 5 weeks at #1 with his album of the same name, I'm the Problem.
Really quick note, Tiffany Darwish. If anyone was wondering.
Yes.
Or going to any 80s themed trivia nights. Tiffany Darwish.
Yes. Motley Crue has released a powerful new version of their 1985 hit Home Sweet Home. This time, Dolly Parton singing on it with them.
Yes.
It's for charity. Yes. It's all for charity. A portion of the proceeds will benefit Covenant House. It's an organization that supports youth facing homelessness by providing food, shelter, and care. But this collaboration celebrates the 40th anniversary of that power ballad. And they loved it. They all said that it was a career high on the track. And, of course, Dolly said it was an honor and a joy. Any birthdays today?
How much time we got? Quick.
Oh, he says 2.
Okay, I'll give you one that Heidi's going to get right away. Randy Jackson, American Idol.
Oh, dog.
Yeah. I think he's...
Yeah.
I think he's 60.
He's older. No, he's like 69.
Bang, got it.
Man.
Yep.
Final one.
Yeah. Okay.
Final one. One of my favorite actresses all time.
Let's hear it.
Frances McDormand.
Oh, she is so talented. 72.
65.
She is 68, and those are our birthdays.
And that is your evening entertainment report here on the Big 550 KTRS. 5:54. Let's get one final check of traffic on this Monday with Captain Paul.
Heidi, the latest is an accident on westbound 44 at Lindbergh, blocking the two right lanes with the stop-and-go jam back to Big Bend. The estimated clearance time there is 6:20. A crash on eastbound 64 at Mason is causing a stop-and-go back up to Maryville Center. Southbound 170 is heavy from Ladue Road down to 64, and eastbound 64 bogs down at 170. This traffic report is brought to you by K. Zander Jewelry. Give your cherished jewelry a fresh start. At K. Zander Jewelry, we breathe new life into vintage mountings with stunning gemstones. Discover the magic today at K. Zander Jewelry. From the KTRS Traffic Center, I'm Captain Paul Kopsky on the Big 550 KTRS.
A friend just reminded me that Tiffany was in town a couple years ago, and I think she came on Show Me St. Louis as well.
Oh, how could you forget that,
You know what?
Heidi?
Many years, many years. Let's wrap this show up with some randoms.
Here's one. Not only is Texas not the largest state, but if you cut Alaska in half, Texas would be the third largest, behind North Alaska and South Alaska.
I did not know that. That's good.
Either.
Alaska is really, really big.
If you laid it over the 48, it would go all the way across.
Really?
If you count the Aleutian Islands and
yeah.
Wow, there's some knowledge. Another random. You guys, thanks for hanging out with us on this Monday afternoon. I hope you'll meet us right back here tomorrow starting at 3 o'clock. And until then, see if you can put a smile on somebody's face.